So as you recall, not too long ago I redid this bathroom. If you watch my other videos, whether I upgraded, put in a new vanity, mirror, shelves, painted. Today we're going to do part 2 of this, and that is replacing the tile in the shower. So I did this, I don't know, 15 years ago, and it seemed nice, but it did kind of date it. We're not really fond of it. I mean, there's really nothing wrong with it. It doesn't leak, there's no problems. But we're just going to go with a subway tile in here. So, step 1, removal. Step 1 is done. Got all the old tile out. I was going to put the new board up there, but that doesn't ever get wet really anyway, so I am going to just tile over that painted surface. I'm using a mastic, so it should stick just fine. So step 2, after I do a little more cleanup, is hang this stuff. It's called a go board, but it's a really lightweight. Much easier than handling that hardy board or the regular cement tile board, which is actually what I had in there before. No, actually what I had in there before was green board. So that'll be no more. This is waterproof. The green board is just mold resistant, but it never did get wet. Everything was dry behind the tile. So, and it was roughly 15 years old. So I don't see any reason why this should have any problems either. So I did cut out a little higher than what the height of this board is, which I'm kind of regretting now, but so I'll have a small strip across the top. But again, water never really gets up that high, so you know it'll seal up fine with the mastic and shouldn't be a worry. And yeah, so that's where the faucets were. That's the shower spigot, and I was going to put electrical into that wall because on the other side is where our TV is mounted on the wall right there. But the missus said don't worry about it. It's just extra work. I would have done it, but that's okay. And I will be cutting out a niche right here. But I think the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and get the backer board here and here. That's the easy part. Then I'll start thinking about what I'm going to do over here. So for the Go board, you're going to use these little discs and some stainless steel screws that came in a pack that I bought off of Amazon. And because they didn't have them at Lowe's. They're probably cheaper at Amazon anyway. But, you know, they go about every 12 inches on center. These are 16-inch on center studs, but, you know, vertically I'll put them, you know, probably that's a 5-foot board. I'll put about 5 of them in, 3 rows of 5. Same thing over here. And, yeah, so I'll switch to my other camera and record me putting a few in. Alright, day one. Got halfway through step 2.B, and I think I did a pretty good job cutting out those holes down there. I do need to move that board up just a little bit. I have room on my holes. It's dropped down a little bit as I was screwing it in. So I'll pop those screws back out, raise it up just a little bit, trim a little bit more of the wall out there so that lines up. As you can see how much I'm off right there. I'll make that up down there. It's sitting on the tub just a little bit. That roll of tape should fit under it, and it does not. So, and then this will actually be the hardest wall because the niche, she decided she wants to go all the way across there. So that will be tomorrow. Enough for tonight. I'm tired, starting to make mistakes. So what we got laid out here is what we were trying to figure out what our niche is going to look like. So it's going to be 4 tiles by approximately 1.5 tiles wide. Will fit in the framing that we have, and then the finish around that will be kind of like this. It'll end up out there. It'll end up out there like that, and then cut 45-degree angles in the corners. Bada bing, bada boom. Whole bunch of measuring, a bunch of calculating, pluses and minuses, math stuff. And then, yeah, we got projects going on all over, so ignore some of that. Come into the bathroom, and sorry, but there's not much lighting in here. So measured, calculated what the height will be for the bottom, and that's my mark right there. I will be using my Harbor Freight oscillating saw, and those were, I wish I had a battery powered one, but you know, I've had this one for quite a few years, probably 15 plus years, and it's working great. I already started cutting, but I have to turn my blade to kind of go in sideways, and we'll get some video of that. That's going to be the bottom of the box. Well, actually, I'm going to put a 2x4 across here and a 2x4 across there. Just so happens just above that seam. Interesting. Anyways, and so the size of the finished size of the box will be from about here to about here. All right. So give you some footage of me trying to cut that 2x4 out. And here's my layout where I took all the tile measurements, added them up, subtracted the thickness of the backer and the mastic that I'm going to stick the tile with and all that different stuff into consideration. You know, yeah, you know, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, cut, this is where the 2x4 is that I got to cut out. And my overall height of my tiles should come out to that. And that is a plan. Like, you got to have a plan, right? Anyways, back to cutting out that 2x4. Okay, got my cross bracing in, one screw going down through there, then I use my Craig jig to countersink some angled screws into the side boards, and then there's the top bracing, same thing, one screw up through here. Craig jigged a couple of countersunk screws into the side, and then I'll take the poly board into this spot. Earlier I said a cement, lightweight cement board. It really is not. It's a poly iso psycho something rather board, but it's basically it's a closed cell foam board. And it is waterproof through and through, and it has a fiberglass fabric over the top of it. So, and also I did some more research about the seams and the screw points. I mean, the stainless steel, they're not going to rust, so that's fine. But when I put my mastic on, I'll just fill the holes. Fill the holes, fill the cracks, fill the seams with the mastic, and the mastic's waterproof also, so no need to tape it off. You can if you want for strength, but you really don't need to. So yeah, next thing, put this board in. Okay, started the tile job already. Already and did the niche. Decided to do the tiles vertical, just so that when we get over to the sides, as I bring the subway up, I don't have to worry about these lines inside of the niche lining up with the lines on the sides as they go around the tub. I don't know, it's an okay look. So I already did that. I had to cut these down so that they landed in the center. I am just using the mastic, and here you can see where I've already crammed mastic in the joint, so that's going to be completely waterproof. And then I started right there's my center line between the two walls, and those are even. That's just a dirty spot there that makes it look uneven. From my pencil line, it's just a little lid on the tub seal. So then every row is going to have to be cut because it's about 3 inches short on each end of being full tiles. It is what it is. So I should be able to get that half and that half over here on the next row out of one tile. So that'll be good. So that one's done center with the line. And I guess the next thing is to show you how all I'm doing is actually what they call buttering the tile. So I'll take some mastic, put it on the back of the tile, and stick it to the wall. Done. Move it on. And then I can quit anytime I want. I don't have to worry about mastic all the way up the wall. It might be faster to put mastic all the way up the wall, but you know, I have to stop and cut every dang tile anyway, so I'm just going to continue to do it this way. All right. Using this knife in order to get it out of the bucket. My trowel's a little big, and I don't want it all over my trowel. Try to keep the trowel kind of clean because that will want to start to dry on the back of it, and you just won't get as clean of a spread. I do have a towel on the floor, an old towel, just to keep my mess to a minimum. I want to say these are 1/4 inch. Let me see if it says it on this trowel. I could have swore it said it on this trowel somewhere. Anyways, I think it's just a standard V-notch trowel. I'm going for pretty much complete coverage of the tile. Now the box is in the way, then I just hang my trowel by the handle on that lid, and then I'm going to stick that right there, come in, just give it a little wiggle back and forth. It doesn't seem to need spacers on the sides. There seems to be enough taper to the tile, but between the rows, I am using a spacer so that just so I have enough room to get some grout in there in order to seal this off better. If you do your grout too thin, you run a risk of it falling out. I believe I will use an unsanded grout so it really will squeeze in there. And if I can find one that is kind of the same material as the mastic, that will help waterproof things. And I can see that's kind of moved. I like to have a putty knife so I can work it in here to the corner and close that up. I want this to be fairly tight. Yep. All right. That seems to be meeting there. Yep. Perfect. Actually, that's about a perfect. Yep. And yeah, I'll just keep cutting and keep stacking. I do not remember where I got this tile saw. I bought it like 15 plus years ago. I think I've changed the blade in it once. Yeah. So I do have some cutoffs that I saved so I don't have to keep repeating the measurements. But like that. Lock her down. This is a wet saw. The water tray is over here, goes in and out this side. I mean, it's a pretty good little saw. I mean, you can cut strips like that thin off of a tile. So, I mean, it's all about the blade, I guess, at that point. How sharp is your blade? But, yeah, I've probably done, heck, 4 or 5 different big tile jobs with that. Actually, more than that. I did my daughter's kitchen with this saw. I did 2 bathrooms, my kitchen. This is bathroom number 4, I think, which I'm doing for the second time. Okay, I just spent the past hour plus. Making sure this nipple stuck out the right distance from the finished wall depth for the new spigot that is going in the shower. This is the original from the last system I had, but this needed to be shorter than what I had. So that took a while. I had to make, of course, run to the big box store and get a shorter one. But luckily, because I cannot get this apart, luckily that metering valve is the same on the new faucet system or the new shower system as the old one was. So it's a delta, putting in another delta. So that's good. And, you know, up there, that's just where the shower head's going to come out. So all set. Now I can start tiling this wall. So, you know, that's one thing to be take into consideration when before you start tiling. Make sure all your shower fixtures and their exposure from the finished wall are set correctly before you start tiling it in, because it's pretty hard to fix it once that's done. Anyways,
just a little piece of advice. Moving on, we're going to start tiling. So that was a fun one. Thought it was going to be pretty hard, but actually I just took a concrete bit and marked me off a circle and just drilled like, I don't know, 8 holes around the circle, and it came out pretty good. Took a rasp file, cleaned up the edges. I'd say it came out perfect. So no special tools, just a concrete bit. Got right through it. Definitely a little more time consuming back buttering each one of these versus just covering the entire wall with mastic, but it prevents any over drying of the mastic while I fart around, because there's a lot of tiles that have to be cut. So back buttering seems just to be the more efficient way to do it as far as the materials are concerned. This is just like a 1/4 or 1/8 inch notch trowel once again. I think I mentioned that earlier in my video. Back at it. Plan for today is finish tiling this wall. Still have to go buy some grout, start grouting. This has been the real slowing point, but I've already cut some of the corner pieces. So that's my banding that'll go along here, but that's this corner. Yeah, cut a couple 45s, got it figured out to where a full piece is center here, and yeah, that wall's kind of tore up because I tiled it once and I'm redoing it. Anyways, because it was about a 1/4 inch off to be allowed to use a full tile along here. I'll probably have to do some more work up here in order to get a full tile, because I'd like that full tile to line up just like that. It's going to be really close. Should be actually right on, but we'll see, because there'll be a tile hanging here and this will cover it like that, which should lead right into that same whole lot of measuring, a whole lot of planning. Let's get after it.
the trim done, tiled all the way to the ceiling. So tomorrow, after this sets overnight and my back rests, we'll get the grout done and put the plumbing together. Right, and again, just remember, and I'll probably repeat it tomorrow when I'm putting that in, that you pay attention to the instructions on how far the nipple needs to stick out for the spigot to hang off of it. Yep, that doesn't really matter. That's recessed. The shower head will just screw right into that. Okay, see you tomorrow. I got all kinds of hillbilly going on. So I busted off one of the screws in the valve inside the wall. Tried to tap it out. Couldn't get my tap to get a hole started. So I fashioned a plastic clip and just put a drywall type screw in there. I'll just have to paint that black and it'll blend right in. So that's fixed. Moving on. This is the watering valve with the volume control. Then this is the temperature select. Going on next. It says you're supposed to like turn the water on and do the mix and all this other business. But I didn't change anything, so I'm not going to do it. That is probably not correct. So I'll probably have to redo that. Then lastly, this goes on. But I'm going to hold off on that. Sorry, had to mess with that and get it turned around the way I wanted it. And this should just clip on. Like that. Oh. That don't look right. I think I just put it on upside down. Damn. It's really a matter of preference, I guess. Whether you want the hot and cold valve control knob pointing up or down. We had it down before, we're going to put it down again. Man, I hate that. That is garbage. Complete garbage. Maybe now. Try that, I guess. Probably have to do it 10 more times to get it right. So what this silicone grease will do, it will help the faucet slide on without tearing or grabbing this O-ring, and it will help seal once it gets into place. Help prevent it from pulling out away from its little groove that it's in. Just all around a good idea, especially as you're going to be turning this on. But this O-ring is key to the whole shoot and match. This O-ring fails and you will have a leak. So it's less about having it tight than it is just making sure this O-ring is sealed inside of the spigot. All right, that's ready. Get the grease off my finger. And here we go. Boy, I ain't even getting close. Okay, what's the dealio? What is the dealio? That should go right over that. Oh, it's hitting that. Hey. So the set screw is sticking out too far. I didn't want to over tighten it, but geez, what's the point of that? And I don't like that. Oof, man, that's really tight. I really don't want to break something else. Nope. That's going to tear these threads up. Half inclined just to pull it out. And don't like that at all. Oh, I wonder. No. I don't know. Well, that might be it. I don't know. Don't really like it, but don't like not putting in parts that they include, but there was no way this was going on with that set screw in there. Well, let's clean the tub out and try to turn on some water. Finally got those installed. Sorry for the echo, but got the door closed. So that was leaking. I ended up putting a longer nipple on. So according to the instructions, it was only supposed to be a ½ inch from the finished wall. I ended up more like an inch from the finished wall in order to get that to seal. That pushed the rubber gasket far enough into the neck to make the seal. So that's good. Went ahead and put in a new drain and overflow drain to match the set. I do need to rearrange those handles. I don't like the direction they're pointing, so it's a matter of just taking them off, turning them. But I'll do that later. Got the shower head. This shower head, you can't see it from this side. Right here there's a dial that allows you to pull the handle off separately. So that's kind of neat. Found out the hard way when I first turned on the water. Okay, so yeah, looks pretty good. Got her all sealed up. She's dry. I'll have to put that trim piece in right down there. Paint up the seam. Paint. Sorry for that swish pan. That was bad. I'll edit that. Paint up that seam. But for now, I'm going to do the caulking around the base. And I might do caulking around the top. I don't know. Just to make life a little easier, I could just freehand it in there. I'm handy enough to do that. But for sake of cleanup and whatnot, I'm going to go ahead and just tape off the entire thing.